Hello and welcome to another episode of Hold on a Second, where is my theme tune music? Here we go. Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Covers. I'm your host Daniela Bleckner. Who am I? I'm an author, book journey mentor, founder of a company called Conscious Dreams Publishing. We work with authors from all over the world to help them to get their powerful messages and stories out there in the form of books. Behind me on the bookshelf there are just some of the 300 books that we have published over the last 9 years. I'm absolutely passionate about providing a platform for unseen, unheard authors so they can have their voices heard and stories shared so they can educate, inspire and empower for generations to come. So I have an extremely amazing guest today, but before I introduce my guest, for those of you who are new to the show, what is this show all about? So as I said, this show is called Between the Covers, and it's all about speaking to authors, people in the publishing and writing industry to find out what goes on between the covers of writing, creating, and publishing and distributing a book. It's easy to look at a book and think, oh, that's a nice book. That was a good read, but not actually understand the whole process that goes on behind the book. So without any further ado, I'm going to stall it for a little bit longer. This month has been absolutely chocker, jam-packed. I'm getting ready to run my very last Power of Your Story workshop, which takes place on Saturday at the Leonardo Hotel in Tower Bridge. I have an amazing group of aspiring authors who have fantastic stories to share and tell, and I'm looking forward to running this workshop to help them to bring their book to life. This will be the very last Power of Your Story for a long while. I've been running these workshops for about 9 years. We also have some special deals on. I could not introduce my guest without telling you about the special deals that we have going on. We have a Christmas children's book bundle happening right now. So in that book bundle, and there'll be many more book bundles, are 5 children's books. And funnily enough, a lot of them are centered around the relationship between grandchildren and grandparents. So the first one is Grandad and Me, a beautiful book about a young girl and her grandfather and the lovely bond that they have. Daniel and David, the first in the Daniel and David series. The twins visit Granny and Grandad, beautiful book about visiting their grandparents and the adventures they go on. And of course, my book, 9 Days of Piper Snow, based on a real life pigeon who now lives with me that came to visit me after I placed a photo of my late dad on the windowsill. And there are 2 more fantastic books, a colouring book, Colour with Clever Chrissy, set in Trinidad, and another beautiful book in the Daniel and David series called Daniel and David, the Mischievous Twins. So check that out. It's buy 4, get 1 free. So that's literally 25% off. I will put the details in the comments. It's also all over my social media. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest. If you are watching, please do say hello, tap the screen, show us some love. If you're watching on Facebook, you can support Conscious Dreams Publishing by sending stars. What are stars? Stars help us earn money so that I can make content. Not only that, so I can run storytelling workshops for people who are whose voices are unseen and unheard, but mainly storytelling workshops for young people. So please do support Conscious Dreams Publishing with stars. It helps us to keep going. Okay, so my guest for this evening is Eucharia Udie, who has published a beautiful book called Breadwinner, The Weight of Blood and Bread. Now, I met this lovely lady on Black-owned economy. Shout out to Black-owned economy, where I was recommended. She was looking for a publisher. I was recommended, and we've been working ever since. I'm pleased to say that her beautiful book, Breadwinner, will be coming out on the 5th of December. What is it all about? I'm going to read just a little bit of the blurb before I bring her in. So again, if you're watching, whether it's YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, say hello, tap the screen, show us some love, let us know where you're watching for. And I want to see tons of support for Eucharia, who is having her very first interview. In the heart of Lagos, Akpana yearns for a life beyond the tangled web of her dysfunctional family. With her father Gregory's reputation in ruins after being caught embezzling, and her mother Felicia single-handedly holding the family together, Akpana's only escape is a job opportunity in England. It's her chance to break free from the chaos of her father's decision to marry a second, younger wife in the desperate bid for a son, while her mother bears the weight of their survival. Just when she thinks she's sacrificed enough, a shocking betrayal from someone she least expects shatters her world. So that is just a tiny bit of this brilliant book. I'm going to bring her on. Hello, Yasmin. Thank you so much for joining. Please, can I see some fire emojis wherever you're watching, YouTube, wherever, Facebook, LinkedIn? I'd like to see a round of applause for the beautiful, amazing Eucharia.
Hello, Danny. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so pleased to finally meet you. We've been working together for a while, and this is the first time actually meeting on Zoom. So lovely to see you. We've got, is it Keika saying, nice one, we're supporting you. Lovely, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So you received your proof copy, I think a few weeks ago now. Tell us, how does it feel to kind of hold this book in your hands and to say that you are very nearly a published author?
I can't explain the feeling, to be honest. It just feels like my child, you know. A writer, Buchie Mecheta, she called a book a mind's child. And I can actually relate to that. It's your ideas, you think about it, you pray for it, you conceive it, you know. You go through all the process of editing, re-editing. Finding the right publisher is like finding the right hospital for your baby. And then and then you finally have the child, you know, and this is it for me. I'm so excited. So I'm happy.
Oh, it's beautiful. Just, I mean, not only is it a fantastic story, I mean, it's, some people write because they've got a powerful story inside. Some people want to share expertise. Other people are actually fantastic writers, literary writers, and you're one of those rare people. So it was brilliant to read, and I think it's really well put together. I love the cover, and she's gone for matte and cream inside. Yes, I am a book geek. I have no shame. So let's dig into a little bit of your inspiration behind the book. But first, I've got to say hello to Justin, your hubby, who's been there to support you. I've been seeing the post. Congratulations on you, and nice to be here. Fantastic. So would you like to first of all just introduce yourself to our lovely audience, tell them who you are, and tell us a bit about your book.
Well, I want to start by saying I have a terrible cold. I have a bad flu. My voice is chapped, and you know, but I'll try my best. I just, you know, I like to let you know what's going on first. My name is Eucharia Udie. I am a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, and a sibling to many people, and a friend as well. I love writing. I love reading books, which is a hobby I just picked up recently. And reading helped me to, you know, write and, you know, create good ideas for my book rather. I also do a full-time job. So writing, doing a full-time job, looking after 3 children, you know, wasn't easy at all. I'm also a church worker in my church. I love to do church activities. I love the things of the Lord. And that's how I can describe myself, amongst many other things.
A very busy lady. I mean, first question then, where do you find the time to do all of this?
I just do it. I like to say I just do it, you know. I get tired. I'm not a super woman, so to say. I get tired like every other person, but things need to be done. You're done with work and then children are hungry. What do? They have to eat. So it's just the grace of God, I would say.
Brilliant. I love that attitude. You just have to do it, especially if you've got something on your heart that's important that you want to do. Now, all right, so your hubby's got some questions already. I'm going to take some questions from people as well. So again, this is a very active, interactive show. So if you have questions, you can throw those questions up. We've got Maureen here, so just watching.
That's my mother-in-law. That's my mother-in-law from Nigeria.
Mother-in-law. Hello there, yeah. Maureen from Nigeria. Nice to see you. Okay, showing love. Okay, brilliant. So in terms of writing, then a couple of questions. Have you always wanted to be a writer? Because how you craft characters and how you write, it seems very natural. And the second thing is, you know, how long has this book been in the birth canal, so to speak?
The first one, have I always wanted to be a writer? I would say not really, but I remember that when I was growing up, I used to be a storyteller. I told a lot of stories. I would gather my siblings, my cousins, and from nowhere, I'll come up with stories. And even if they knew that they were not real or actual stories, they actually enjoyed it. And then I went to a boarding school as well. And whenever I went home, I would watch a movie. And when I got back to school, I would tell the movie, you know, word for word. I would say every bit, of the scene to my friends. So I started off as a storyteller, but as I got older, sorry, it's my cold. As I got older, I think I got quieter. So I took to my pen, you know, instead, and I began writing. However, my writing was hindered because I wasn't a good reader, in the sense that I did not have a reading culture. So I would fall asleep reading a novel. I'll get bored, I'll procrastinate, I wouldn't have the time, you know, until I said to myself, you really need to have a reading culture. It's good for you to take you off social media for a bit. So I started learning how to read. And what I observed was that whenever I read a book and I did any kind of writing, my writing would mirror the book that I had just finished reading. So that was very impressive for me. I actually loved that about myself. So when I saw that reading was helping me, that was when it came to my mind to say, okay, you can write your own book as well. So that was about 3 years ago that idea came to me, but I didn't know what to write about, you know. And I remember I would be racking my brains and thinking, what do I write about? My husband would say, calm down. You don't force these things. When it comes, it comes. You know, so in the meantime, I was doing some short writings, just writing about my Christian journey, writing about life experiences, and sometimes the weather, the season, and stuff like that. I would do some short writings, which actually helped me to form my plots, you know, in this book that I have just written. So I did the short writings until about 2 years ago, when it then came to me to do the writing. So the writing has been on for like 2 years. The publishing process has been on for, I think we met in March, if I remember correctly.
I think so. Around the time goes so quickly. I don't even know anymore. Around that, yeah.
So so that's when the publishing process started. I don't know if I've answered the second question that you asked.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing was, you know, have you always wanted to be a writer? And then the second part was, how long is this? When did you kind of birth this idea? When did you finally have this idea? And what inspired you is the second
part. And what inspired me? So, as I said, I was racking my brains not knowing what to write about. And I was just doing the short writings and waiting for the big idea, because you need to have a message before you start writing.
Yeah.
And that was I used to work somewhere as an emergency operator, and I was having my break, you know, where we usually take our breaks. I sat with a friend and she took a call in front of me. There was a lot of shouting in the background, ranting and all of that. So my friend, when she was done with that call, she decided to share what was going on with me. And that was what gave me the idea for my book. The person she was talking to on the phone was really mad with her family. It was a young girl who was here in England, was still struggling to find her feet and all of that. But her family back home were not giving her the kind of understanding that she wanted. They were demanding, worst of all, they were comparing her to her mates. Can't you see what your mates are doing? Your mates are doing this for their family and blah, blah, blah. So the girl was getting frustrated with the pressure of being here, trying to settle properly. Family back there not understanding. She was threatening to cut them off. So my friend shared that with me. And when I was done with my shift and I was going home, it got me thinking that, wow, this could be it. Sometimes as a writer, you get an idea and you let it go. But I refused to let that one go. So I got home, I started thinking, I started doing some research. In the process of researching, I found the word for the first time called black tax. I had never heard about it before then. And then I started looking on YouTube, doing more research. And I saw that this was really a big issue, especially for people who are, outside the country. I'll have a sip of water if you guys don't mind. Yeah, so this was this black tax is a very big issue, especially for people who are.
To anyone who doesn't know what black tax is, what that is.
Certainly, I'll explain it. So, black tax is the financial burden or responsibility saddled on the shoulders of many people from especially developing countries where there's an expectation to look after family, puts people on salaries, pay bills, pay school fees, that expectation to send money back. In fact, if you go on Google, you see there are so many apps, send money home, send money home.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing. Yeah. So that's what black tax is about. And it's a very beautiful thing, if you ask me, because I am a Nigerian. We live a very communal life in Nigeria. Community is very important. If I were to be cooking right now, or back when I was growing up, and if I were to be cooking and I ran out of salt or my gas goes off, I could go to my neighbor's house and say, please, can I have some salt? I was cooking and it just, or can I use your gas? We live that kind of life. And it's beautiful, so beautiful. Or my neighbor could spank me, for doing something. Yeah. And when my mom comes, your child did this and I spanked her. Oh, really? You spanked? Did you spank her very well? So we live that kind of community life, which is beautiful. But and before I go to the but, I want to also say that this community life transcends also to what we're talking about now, black tax, which means that while we look after family in that way, when a child grows up, there's an expectation that that child would look after the community as well, But the problem comes in when people take advantage of things like that.
Yeah.
When people try to be manipulative, when people try to gaslight, when sometimes enough is not enough, or when there's no consideration or understanding, that's where it becomes a problem. So that's what the book Breadwinner highlights. It doesn't totally condemn the idea of black tax, because black tax is embedded in many communities. You can't just help it. In some other communities, the government looks after the older people, while in other communities, we look out for each other. So we just have to find a balance, and we just have to manage it properly. Nobody should be manipulated. There should be understanding. Don't put pressure on a young child who is still trying to find their feet. Things like that have pushed a lot of people to go out of their way to either take arms, sell their bodies and all kinds of things. So we need to be careful not to, to find a balance in it. Yeah, so that's what the book talks about: the love, the joy, the sacrifices, the manipulation, the lies, the deceits as well, embedded in black tax.
Thank you so much. I mean, I love what you say about the sense of community. I lived in Tanzania, East Africa for a year, and it is very, very much the same. Kenya, the spirit of Umoja, just supporting each other, community. And I love that you spoke about the balance of, well, okay, if we are responsible for each other rather than the government, where's the line? And there's a certain part in your book, and you've got to get the book, people, get the book, where I knew something was amiss. I knew something was coming, but it really kind of hit home I really felt it for your character. I really did. It must have been really hard to write. But it's about finding that balance between, yes, I have the weight of blood and bread, but I have this role as a breadwinner living in, it doesn't necessarily have to be England, but your character Akpana comes to live in England, and is the breadwinner, brings money back home, but where does that stop? And where do her needs come into play in all of this? I love that you talk about gender roles through the story as well. I'm just going to read Ali saying, "Oh, my childhood was like that too. Borrowed sugar, salt, flour from neighbours, and my neighbour was allowed to discipline me too."
Yeah.
Xavier is saying, "Here to learn and support a fellow author, will buy the book." Fantastic. If you're watching on whatever platform you're watching on, the link to the book is in the comments. It's either up there or down below, depending where you're watching. You can get signed copies from the Conscious Dreams website, or it's also available at all good bookstores. But if you want a signed copy, you can get it from Yuki directly from the Conscious Dreams bookshop. So sure. Let's talk a little bit then, because there's so many things to talk about in your book. You've got, exploring gender roles, exploring the different cultures, Nigerian, Lagos to, it's not London. Where is it she moves to again in England?
You mean Akpana?
Yes.
She moved to Loughborough.
That's it.
But her mom kept calling it London, because most people do not understand the difference between the UK, England, and London.
Yeah.
So people will always ask you, how is London? Wherever you are in the UK, it's London.
Everything's London. And now I'm saying London. I think I put that in my newsletter as well, London. No, it's not. It's Loughborough. So looking at the difference between cultures, especially looking at how the Western culture kind of looks after or doesn't look after its elders in a way that is very different to what that would be in Nigeria, as in sending them into homes, care homes, without giving away too much about what Akpana does when she's there. So it looks at gender roles, we look at the family dynamics, we look at betrayal, love, I can never say this word, polygamy.
Yeah,
dysfunctional relationships. I mean, there's so much of their mental health in the end as well. So let's look at, first of all, like the family dynamics. I really liked the character of Felicia. How you build characters is just beautiful. But I really like the character Felicia, who's the mother. In the beginning, anyway, she comes across as a very strong woman with her own shop, and even though her husband is shamed in the community for embezzlement, she seems to carry the weight herself. And then we have Akpana, who then becomes the breadwinner of the entire family. Would you say, what would you say you wanted to kind of convey when discussing or when crafting those characters in terms of like gender roles? Because often I know we still live in a bit of this society where people think, breadwinner is often the man who's out there doing the work.
Yeah. For many, like in my culture, I wouldn't want to speak for the whole world, but in my culture, a man is usually the breadwinner. So even if the wife is the one paying the school fees of the children in the house or feeding the family, nobody hears about that outside. Even when she pays the fees, she'll tell the children, go and say thank you to daddy. Daddy bought this for you, daddy did that for you. So nobody hears about it. Also, in that case, many times the man's ego is also bruised. Like we see in the case of Gregory, the man's ego is bruised. But there are many, many strong Nigerian women who are doing a lot, who are carrying the weight of the family. Nobody knows about it. Some of them are rewarded well for that. Others are not, like we see in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I really admire the character Felicia. She was also strong verbally. She had a very bad mouth.
That's why I liked her.
I like her, actually. I admire the character Felicia. For Nigerians, I would like to, liken Felicia's character to Patience Ozokwo. We call her Susanna. She's a very strong Nigerian female actress rather. And Felicia was just like that woman, verbally strong, physically strong as well. And at some point, she was a breadwinner. I think for the book as a whole, if you read it, you discover that we actually had three breadwinners in the story. You know, so we have the father being the breadwinner who looked after his family, and then that baton got passed to his wife as well, you know, who became the breadwinner at some point, and then at a point it got to the child breadwinner. But everybody played their own parts beautifully. And what I think people would relate to these characters in different ways. Be a man or a woman, a child, you know, everybody had their part to play. And if you read the book, you might end up siding Gregory. You might end up siding, yeah, because Gregory made a lot of sacrifices for his family. Gregory sacrificed a lot for his family. Even when he embezzled, he did that for his family. He might have punished other people elsewhere. And we see this a lot with many breadwinners. There's food on the table. Nobody knows how it comes about. You know, politicians, you know, if I'm to say, their families are happy, but people are crying out there. You get what I mean? So yeah, he might have done stuff, but his family was happy until he got caught. So
That's
you
a
could
very
also
That's a very interesting way to look at it as well. I think I need to read it 3 times to really get a sense of each character's perspective. But yeah, I guess it's that silent struggle of having to be the breadwinner and not needing or wanting to show your family the things that may be going on behind the scenes, maybe because of shame, especially being a man. So that's a really important part. One thing about Gregory, I really love the scene on the how you painted the picture of how he made I think it was a woman on the coach on the bus move because he was the elder. How you crafted that whole scene was just brilliant. Would you say like what gave you that? That's a hard question, but because it was so vivid, it was so specific. And you know, I've never been to Lagos, but I feel like I've been there. You know, I feel like I just had a real slice of authentic Bete culture, and also just the markets and the people, and that bus scene in particular. What do you think helped you to really bring that vivid sense to life?
I grew up in Lagos actually, and I grew up in Nigeria as well. And even if these stories are imaginative, because you've been somewhere, you've seen things, you've heard things, you've watched movies, it's easy to bring those things into life. I was also a very, very big traveler because I went to boarding school. So I was shuffling between states and moving around. So I saw a lot of things that actually were embedded in my subconsciousness, and it's just makes sense. It's, you can ask any Nigerian, you know, if you have an elderly man going on the bus, that man is certain, and you know, if he chooses to sit in the front seat, he's certainly sitting by the door. A younger girl wouldn't be by the door, you know, sitting outside. It's unheard of. So it was very easy for me to describe that. And there was always, or there is always, an argument on the bus, especially when you're traveling. Very interesting conversations. Very, very interesting conversations. And you will just be wondering whose side to support. So I was able to bring that into life because I traveled a lot, you know, and it was easy for me to imagine, you know, what could have happened in that situation.
I absolutely love that. I think we need to take that kind of aspect of not ever having a, you know, a young woman sitting by the door, and that is for an elderly person. We need to bring that back to the UK as well. So we've got a few more people on, so let me just acknowledge them. Kelvin Joe saying, hey, Yuki, I'm really thrilled to hear you talk about your awesome book live. I'm rooting for you all the way from Nigeria. Much love. Get yourself a copy of the book if you've just...
That's my brother. That's my immediate younger brother, actually.
That's your younger brother. Hello. Nice to see you. Enjoy the book, Breadwinner. If you've just joined, get your copy, Breadwinner, The Weight of Blood and Bread. Janine says, hello. Keika, I think, says good luck from Leicester. You're a strong woman, auntie. Beautiful. Got some lovely support there. So let's talk a little bit. We talked a bit about gender roles, dysfunctional family, how you really bring things to life. Let's talk a bit about then the process. So you finished this book, and what was your kind of next step? Did you revisit it? Did you re-edit before obviously we got in contact? And what was that point that made you realize or think, yes, I finished this draft, I'm ready to take it to the next level?
I don't know. Book writing is a process that's, it's a very, very long process. When I started looking for a publisher early this year, I actually thought there was no full stop, there was no comma to be added. I thought I was done.
I've been there. Don't worry.
I had just I think either 160 something pages or 170 something pages at the time I was looking for a publisher.
Yeah.
And today we have 252 pages. So it's a very long process. And if we're talking about process, I would like to start with, first of all, finding a publisher. I was looking for a publisher badly. I went on Google. I almost got scammed.
Oh,
£300 publishing. Good deal, good offer.
300. What, to do the whole thing? Editing,
The whole
typesetting,
thing.
cover design. Well, I don't know what they're doing, but
I smell the rats. It was too good to be true. And when you go on Google, you can't proceed without putting your information like email address, phone number. You just have to. So then you have people contacting you. And I think that's one of the signs to perceive something fishy. If somebody keeps bugging you over and over again to come to them, I knew something was wrong there. And then I went to a platform called Black Owned Economy. And when I put my heart out there, said I've written something, I don't know who to help me with the publishing process. People that recommended, I would say up to 90% of people went with Danny, and then there were two other ladies, wonderful ladies as well, and I just went with Danny. So that's the first one, finding a publisher. After finding the publisher, the editing process, the editor will have his or her own opinion. You would have yours. You have to find the balance and and all of that. So we did all of that back and forth, and the pages of the book went up. And you asked how I knew that I had finished. I thought I had finished in the beginning of the year, to be honest.
I know how you feel.
Writing, because we're in this world and we wake up every day, fresh ideas are coming up every day. It's not, you would always, when you look at something, you would always have a kind of fresh idea, but you have to be in your mind satisfied with what you have done so far. Else you end up writing a dictionary, because the writing would never end. Your mind will keep telling you, maybe introduce a new character or do this or do that or do this, but you have to be satisfied within yourself. Listen to your publisher, listen to your editor. Are they happy? Is there something they think you need to do? Go with that idea. But finally, after reading, I think since I left university, I have never read, the way I read for this, Danny. You know the story. I would just pin myself. I'm done with work. I'm so tired. I need to rest. In the middle of the night, I'm just staring and reading. And I'm the one that wrote this book. So sometimes you even get bored just reading your own book over and over, trying to dot I's. And the thing with editing, the more you edit, the more you make mistakes. You are opening yourself up for more mistakes. So I went through all of that. This is my first experience. I've learned a lot, and also it's good to have a time frame. This does not mean that you're trying to rush your work, but then it guides you to say, for me, I wanted to publish mine in October. I told myself, Danny, by the ways, I have a confession.
Go on.
Talking about the process.
God.
I thought that by the time I turned 30, that I would publish 3 books.
3?
I was dreaming so big. When I thought, oh, Eucharia, you can do this. I want you to write a book. I said, fine. By the time I turned 30, I'm going to do a book launch. I'll publish 3 books. I actually have 2 other drafts. But when I started going through the process with one, that was when I knew that it's not an easy journey at all.
Baby. But you know what?
Yes.
People, let me sort of cutting in there. So my camera's gone. That's the thing between some of these companies. I call them printing companies. So you can think you finished a book and say, right, oh, sorry, I want to publish this. And maybe there's a publisher or printer or whoever, they can say, yes, fine, we'll format the book. They won't necessarily edit it in as much detail, or if at all. And then they'll kind of print it and get it out there. But my thing is, like, I think we're both perfectionists, right? Once your book is out there in the world, like it's out there, so you want to make sure that you've crossed the T's, dotted the I's, and you're happy with it. And it's the best possible book you can have. So yeah, you said something really important there. I think a lot of people think think the same as you. You know, I've got 3 books now. Let's get them published. Let's get them all out there in 3 months. And so
No, it doesn't work that way. It's a lot. It could take years, actually. You know, it's a lot, and you want it to be good as possible. People are going to read this, so yeah, I'm happy. I went with one. We polished it. We worked together, and you know, we did something good, I would say.
I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful book as well. And I do love the cover. Interesting enough, because I'm just trying to fix my camera. We went through a few different ones, and you know, I liked the other one, but actually, I can't imagine the book being with any other cover other than this. Like, I just think it works. I love the colors as well. So talk us through the image and also the subtitle, which is something you kind of added towards the end, The Weight of Blood and Bread. We were talking before about how glad she is that she added that subtitle. So maybe have a sip of water and tell us a bit about the cover and the subtitle.
To be honest with you, my job was just to write. I was so blank when it had to do with the book cover. You were asking about the typesetting. I was like, just put it down. I've done my work. But you were like, no, you need to have an idea. When you look at your book, when you think about your book, what do you want to see? I had no idea. I will be honest with you guys. I was so blank, but I knew that I wanted something emotional. So I had an idea of that. I wanted something emotional. It's an emotional story. I wanted something that when somebody look at the back, you know, it can evoke some kind of emotion. And the lady, what's her name again? Can I call her name?
Emily.
Emily. Okay, I can
Yes.
call her Emily. She came up with a lot of samples of, you know, a few things. Some of them were direct, telling the story direct, and I said no. I can't remember the one you chose now. Is it the one that the lady was sitting on the plane?
That's the one, yeah.
That was beautiful, but she was looking happy on the plane. So I was like, she's too joyful. Like
You don't want that.
She doesn't know the responsibilities ahead. But this one doesn't tell so much while it's telling a lot. You know, so I want to appreciate Emily because she came up with this. On my own, I had no idea. And then The Weight of Blood and Bread. In fact, Breadwinner, the first name I chose for this book was Family Ties. But it wasn't striking enough for me for a very long time. I was bothered about that title. And then finally Breadwinner came and I said, yes, that is it. The Weight of Blood and Bread came last minute, you know, when I was just trying to find a summary for the book. And then, you know, The Weight of Blood and Bread, it just came up with the summary of the book. And I said, I'm going to add that as a subtitle. Also, if you check online, there are a few books called Breadwinner as well.
Yes.
So my subtitle makes my own book stand out from other breadwinner books out there.
I'm just putting it into Amazon here so that people can buy it if they're watching on YouTube. Yeah, I think that subtitle towards the end was a really good shout because it gives us that hook, the weight of blood and bread. Well, what do we mean by that? What's the family done? Why is this family a weight? Yeah, here we go. So Martin said, I noticed the cover is very professional. Awesome. Thank you, Martin. Shout out to Emily's World of Designs, our brilliant designer. I'm the same as you. I get an idea of the mood that I want with my book. I thought I wanted something. I looked at it, I was like, no. And then I'm the same, you know, I'm a writer. I don't know. But when you kind of give kind of all of your vision and your ideas to somebody and they can create something for you to say, yes, I like that. That's when you know you've got a great person. I couldn't do that.
Of course. Yeah, I like to allow creative people, you know, do their magic. I've got a book launch coming up as well. Yeah. And my friend was saying, what kind of cake do you like? I say, you are the cake professional. I'm not very fuzzy. I just like things that are beautiful and good. come up with your creative idea. I don't want to limit you with something that is not around my expertise. So that's how I am. I like creative people to get to work, bring the samples, and then I can choose. And that was what Emily did with this book, and I'm happy with it.
Oh, I'm really excited to see what your cake's going to look like. Will you send us some photos? I'd love to. Right, so Yuki's book launch is on December the 7th, which is my birthday. And it's in Nottingham as well, which is quite far away from me. Can you tell us a bit about your book launch, and is it open for everyone to come? Yes.
I would love for it to be open for everybody to come, but December is a very tight period, and I couldn't get a venue that is big enough. I had one in mind. By the time I called, they said Christmas carols, blah blah blah, things are happening here and there. So I got him just a manageable one, not too far from me. So I'm limited in terms of space, but it's going to be a cute, small event. It's going to be lovely. Or try to broadcast it, go live, so those people that cannot come can watch and, enjoy it as well. I have contracted a few things. Normally, if my husband, for example, were to be doing an occasion, I would be at the forefront, organizing, doing this, doing that, cooking. But now I'm contracting like 90% of my cooking out. Somebody will be doing the cooking. There'll be lots of Nigerian food. Yeah, and then I've got somebody planning the event, the decorator as well. I've got my colors. Everything is going on well. Yeah.
What are your colors?
So for the table, it's going to be a white table and a black table runner. The chair would also be a white table cover and a black sash. So white, black. And then we've got flowers on the table, candles as well, because it's getting dark now.
Yeah.
I was worried about doing this at night, but darkness is also beauty. There's beauty in black. So there'll be some candles around. And then I'm going to paid for a backdrop, and the colors, a black backdrop, colors going round, maroon, gold, and cream going round. So I'll have my table as well. The table would have my cake, would have my books, and I'll be signing by the side. And then my banner would go behind me. So
you got your banner sorted, yeah? Fantastic. I'm excited. Please do take some pictures, send us some pictures. I love seeing book launches and things come to life and the celebrations. I loved your unboxing video of you opening your book and the joy. There's nothing like that joy, obviously having children, but it's such a great sense of joy when you open that book, all the blood, sweat and tears that have gone into that book and seeing it come to life. You've done really well. So we haven't even touched on I know you did a video about the taboo behind the male child, wanting a male child, but we haven't talked about polygamy either, which shows that there's so much to this book. Everyone who's watching, was going to take Yuki out for a minute. There's so much to this book that you just have to get it and keep these discussions going. And maybe I'm going to have to get Eucharia back on again. So I'm going to add you back, Eucharia. I think your camera's gone a little bit. Yeah, you would just let me know when you're ready to come back. So I'm not going to keep you for much longer. You have been an amazing guest. And I know that you haven't been very well.
Sorry, guys. I have a bad flu. I'm even surprised that I've made it up till this time. So please pardon me.
You've done fantastically well. So I'm going to leave it there. I was going to ask you what your advice to somebody who wants to publish a book or has a story inside, or maybe they want to do something that they never thought they could. But I'm going to leave you, and you could maybe answer that question on the broadcast, on the live when it goes out. And I just want to thank everybody so much for joining. Thank you, Eucharia, for coming on, for trusting us with your book, baby. I'm really proud and pleased, all the whole team are, to have helped you to birth this book. And ultimately this was your story, this not your personal story, this was your book, this was your baby, and this is all written by you and written fantastic. And I don't say often, we've got a handful of really talented authors. So if you're a literary agent, check out Breadwinner, The Weight of Blood and Bread. check out Eucharia. Honestly, I wish you a blessed book launch and for your writing to career to, you know, go forth and multiply. Feel free to come back to us, but again, if you get that HarperCollins deal, you go for it, girl. You go for
Certainly. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that has been watching. I would say just go for it. To answer your question quickly, just go for it. Whatever you want to do, life is too short. Don't worry about any kind of thing. Be your biggest cheerleader. Nobody's coming to save you. Be your biggest cheerleader. Do what you want to do as well. And quickly about the polygamy thing. I know you wanted to let me go.
You're a perfectionist.
Marry the number of women that you can look after.
You're just
marry the number of women that you can look after. If you can look after 10, go for them. There's no law stopping you from marrying 10 wives. Make sure they all know that you are married to 10 of them, and make sure that you can look after them, because that's what the story is all about. So do what you can do. Carry the weights that you can carry. You know, don't allow any kind of gaslighting, emotional giving and all of that. Just do what you can do. Don't wear yourself out. If anything happens, as I said, as much as we love community, we just need to, you know, stick out for ourselves as well. So that's what the book Breadwinner is all about. Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you to your team. Thank you to Elise, Emily, Oksana. Thank you so much. Thank you to Black Owned Economy for recommending Danny as well. Thank you to everybody that has been watching, and I trust that you get a copy. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Oh, you've been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been lovely working with you. I want you back for interview part 2. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. I'm not going to be here next week. It's going to be my birthday week, so I'm going to be relaxing, taking some time off, but I will be back probably on the 3rd week of December, possibly the 19th. Yeah, definitely won't be the 26th. I'm going to be back on the 19th of December doing a final roundup of what we've been doing at Conscious Dreams Publishing in 2024, and maybe inviting some of the authors back to celebrate the end of the year. I've said it now, so I've got to organize it. Anyway, thank you, everybody. See you in a few weeks' time, 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. EST, and now I've learned 8 o'clock Nigerian time. So yes. See you on December.
Just during the winter period, though.
Oh, just in the winter period?
Yeah, when we take, the time changes here. So that's when it changes in Nigeria.
Oh, I see. Okay, I've got to get up to speed. Well, I'll see you on the 19th of December to do the final roundup for the year. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful evening. Bye.
Bye.